As we gather together, we acknowledge that the land upon which our church and homes exist is the ancestral land stolen from the people of the Shoshone Bannock, the Shoshone Paiute, Coeur d'Alene, Kootenai, and Nez Perce nations, along with many other tribes whose names have been lost in history. We acknowledge that our presence here today is founded upon the exclusions and erasures of many Indigenous peoples. With this acknowledgement, we wish to demonstrate our ongoing commitment to the work of dismantling the legacies of settler colonialism. We honor Indigenous peoples' connection to the land and support their right to sovereignty.
Good morning. Welcome to the Boise Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I am the Reverend Sara LaWall. It is my great honor to serve this beloved community, and we are so glad you've joined us this morning. Today I'm joined by Rob Ham, who is serving as our celebrant this morning, who also happens to be the vice president of your board. And of course we're joined by Carrie Bastian, our music director, and our fabulous BUUF Choir, accompanied by Sue Langley, here to share their wonderful music at the start of this program year together. It's been some months since we've gotten to hear our choir. So welcome back, choir. It's wonderful to have you. Welcome to those of you joining us virtually. We are so glad that you are there. I'll invite us all to turn to our cameras and wave. And also, we now have that chance to see your faces on our screens here in the sanctuary. So, if you're able, out there in Zoom land, for a moment, we invite you to turn your cameras on and switch to gallery view, and then you can see each other, we can see you, you can see us, we can wave. There you are, we see you. Oh yes, we're all turning our cameras on. Lovely. Thank you, Zoom. Friends, it's good to know that our community extends beyond the walls of this sanctuary and that we all worship together. In joining us this morning, even if it is your first time, and we have a lot of first-timers among us this morning, you're entering into a community dedicated to making visible in the world a profound love by nurturing spiritual growth, encouraging curiosity, enacting justice, and creating spaces of wholeness, healing, and transformation. If that call speaks to your heart, you are welcome here. Whatever your spiritual heritage, no matter how or if you pray, whomever you love, however you identify, you are welcome here, and your presence is a blessing. And we know that it takes a lot of courage to find and seek out a new community and step across that threshold. So to our newcomers, welcome, a special welcome to you. We're so glad you've joined us. We hope that you'll take some time to introduce yourselves in the chat and after the service at our fellowship time in the hospitality room, and so that we can warmly welcome you. We invite you to fill out a newcomer form. Those are found in the carts in the entryways, and also on a link in the chat, so that we can keep you up to date with all that is happening here in our fellowship. And we have a lot happening in the fellowship. So I'm going to run through some of our announcements really quickly. First of all, I want to say a huge thank you to our Connections Fair volunteers, specifically Sheila Ames, who was the brainchild, and Sue Philly, her trusty sidekick. And to all of you who made it possible, it was such a delightful experience last Sunday. Let's give our volunteers a hand. It was just really fun to see all of the different groups and committees and teams and ways that we all can connect and engage in this fellowship outside in a beautiful day. All of you had such extraordinary treats. I was so sugared up at the end of last week. I couldn't help myself at every table. I want to say thank you to the hospitality volunteers for this Sunday: Kathy Sherman, Robert Crum, Sue Philly, Julia Pope, and Jeanette Ross. It takes a team to run our hospitality service, and we're so grateful for all of you who are signing up your time. And we encourage each of you to take a Sunday and sign up in our hospitality room after the service today. For the newcomers among us, our newcomer series, Inquirers, starts today after the service. You can get some coffee and wander down into the South Hall in the Channing Room, where we will gather together for this 5-part series that introduces you to Unitarian Universalism and to this fellowship. And don't forget to fill out your census. How many of you have done your census already? Good. Yep, that's not enough. Okay, more. More of you. The link is in every weekly Gazette. We have hard copies inside the office. We promise we are not tracking your every move, but we really want to get a better handle on the talent and the gifts and the interests that you have, and also make sure we have your correct information, as we're going to publish a brand new directory for the first time in what seems like a million years. So you can help us be able to get in touch with you and you to connect with each other by filling out that census. And we have 2 really exciting community events that we want to share with you. Our Racial Justice Ministry team is hosting an Indigenous Peoples Day event on Monday, October 9th at 7 p.m., an evening with Wilson Wewa, storyteller from the Confederated Tribes of the Warm Springs Nations. Wilson will be on Zoom, but the Racial Justice team will host a watch party in person here in the sanctuary, and so you are invited to join here or on Zoom. And then that following night on Tuesday, October 10th, it is our Pro Voice Project, a community project that is a one-night live stage production of abortion stories. Tickets are free, but reservations are required, so we invite you to find that reservation link and get your tickets and join us Tuesday night at Treefort Music Hall. Doors open at 6 p.m. and we begin the show at 7. This fellowship donates 25% of its unpledged plate offering to support a local organization whose mission aligns with our social justice mission. And for this month of September, that organization is the Bare Roots Collective. They're a brand new nonprofit in our community, really serving brand new young adults, particularly young adults from more marginalized communities and refugee communities, those unseen young adults who are trying to find their way in the world, and they partner with them to offer mentorship and educational programs and resources to support their lifelong autonomy, health, and connection to this community. And we are bringing back the offering time during our worship services on Sunday, a specific moment for you to make your intentional gifts. And as you know, there are many, many ways to make your gift, including using that offering basket. You can go to our website, you can use that QR code there that will appear on the slide. Many of you know how to do that. If you know how to do that, you do that. If you don't worry about it. It works however you choose to give, really, truly, however you choose to give. Your checks in the mail, in the drop boxes. We are so grateful for your generosity, for the ways in which you support the ministries of this fellowship and the ministry of our plate partner. And our spiritual theme for this month of September is community, the practice of encountering others. Our themes are following the chapters of the book An Altar in the World by Barbara Brown Taylor. And today's service explores how we become a part of a crew when we pledge ourselves to community. All of us here become a part of the crew of this fellowship. So let us take a moment to breathe together, to bring ourselves fully present into this space and this time of worship together. Fill your body with breath. Breathe, knowing that our breath connects us to one another, to our bodies, and to our planet. Our breath offers us the opportunity for stillness, to tune in to our spiritual center, to listen deeply to our heart's longing. Thou art the song of my heart in the morning. Thou art the dawn of truth in my soul. Thou art the dew of the roses adorning. Thou art the woven whole. Thine is the grace to be steadfast in danger. Thine is the peace that none can destroy. Thine is the face of the need-driven stranger. Thine are the wings of joy. Thou art the deep, to the deep in me calling. Thou art a lamp where my feet shall tread. Thy way is steep past the peril of falling. Thou art my daily bread. Thine be the praise of my spirit uplifted. Thou art the sea to each flowing stream. Thine be the days that are gathered and sifted. Thou art the deathless dream. To embody our theme of community this morning, I invite us all to rise in body or spirit as we sing together hymn 347, Gather the Spirit. There's quite a bit of time before we... Yeah, no, I just but you don't need to see the person I'm saying.
Thank you.
Quite a stretch of time before you need to.
Each week, we light our flaming chalice, a symbol of our free faith, a beacon of hope, love, and justice. We join in this lighting in solidarity with communities of thousands of other Unitarians, Universalists, lighting chalices today in churches, homes, and virtual worship spaces, reminding us that we are connected to one another in a larger community of faith. Today, we have a young chalice lighter with us. We invite a child to light the chalice to recognize that children and youth in our community are our responsibility to them, and the future we're building together. As Carissa Benoit lights the chalice here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you in our virtual community to light a chalice if you have one nearby, along with us this morning. Then share in the chat where your chalice is lit this morning. With our collective chalices lit in our spaces, we offer this call to worship, an excerpt from Dreaming in the Dark, Magic, Sex, and Politics by the pagan priestess and activist Starhawk. We are all along to go home to some place we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned, we can only catch glimpses of from time to time. Community. Somewhere, there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere, a circle of hands will open to receive us. Eyes will light up as we enter, and voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Community that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter. A circle of healing, a circle of friends, somewhere where we can be free. Come, let us worship together.
So I'd like to invite all of our young people, young at heart, to come down on this side here with me this morning. Thanks, Krista, for leading the charge. I was having a moment when you were lighting the chalice up there, remembering when you were little enough that you needed the stool to light the chalice. Come on down, friends. Friends in the back, do you want to come down? I know I'm calling you out, Conley, Greta. Who else is back there? Other faces I can't see, name tags. You don't have to. But could I invite you to come a little bit closer to me over here because it's hard to see you through these bags. Today, hi everybody. Today our theme is community and what it means to be part of a community, to be part of a crew. And it's a good reminder when you all come up here every Sunday morning that you are a part of this community. Each and every one of you, and your parents, and all of the people that are out there behind you, and all of the people that are out there on Zoom. And so I thought it would be interesting as we start our program year together, and our religious exploration classes are starting back up for the first time in a little while, so we're kind of like getting those wheels turning again. I thought it'd be fun for us to have a little conversation about what I do in this community. Do you know what my job is, what the name of my job is called? A minister. I heard you two say it too. Yes, I'm a minister. Are there other names for people who do the work that I do? Do you know of other words that people use for somebody who does this kind of job? Anyone? Carrie, Miss Carrie? Pastor. How many of you, have you heard that word before sometimes? Some of you, yeah? Anything else? Rabbi, yes. A rabbi leads the congregation in a Jewish community. clergy, priests in the Catholic and Episcopalian communities. Episcopalians, I'm jealous of them because you know their titles? Do you know what my title is? Minister is my job, but do you know what title they put before my name sometimes? What do they put before my name? Reverend, yeah, Reverend Sara. But in the Episcopalian tradition, they have all kinds like honor, right, reverend, and lots and lots and lots. The very, very right reverend, the very right honorable. It's a lot of words. So sometimes I get a little jealous of that. They have so many words. But yeah, I'm a reverend. And do you know, then, I wear some things that most people don't wear to their jobs. And I only wear these things on Sundays. I don't wear them when I come to work in the middle of the day. Do you know what this is called that I'm wearing? This black thing? What does it look like to you? Yeah, what do you think it's called? A robe. That's right, it's a robe. Do you know anyone else who wears a robe when they go to work? My mom. High five, Mom. That's right. Still, sometimes we live that pandemic life, and I wear a robe too. Anybody else wear a black robe? You probably haven't been in a courtroom. It's a good thing. Judges? Yeah, judges wear robes. Judges wear robes that sometimes look very similar to the clergy robes. And the reason why we wear a robe, at least in our tradition, is that our tradition comes from what we call the learned ministry. And the robes come from the world of university academia, where back in the old days, professors, when they gave lectures in college campuses, used to wear robes. How many of you wear robes, professors and teachers out there? Not so much, it's very hot. Yeah. And so for us in our faith tradition, it symbolizes that our ministers, our clergy, had to go to special schools to learn what we do and to study, called seminaries, for several years, and to get a degree. And the degree is called a Master's of Divinity. Sounds very fancy. I sometimes wonder what it really means. But that's why we wear a robe. That's part of our symbol of reminding our community that we have studied this work and that we have learned some things as we help guide and lead our communities. What about this thing? Do you know what that's called? Anyone? A scarf thing? It's kind of. It has a name, but that's pretty close. Anybody know what it's called? You don't hear me use the word very much. Anybody out there besides Elizabeth? A stole. A choir has a stole on too. Oftentimes when you see in our Unitarian Universalist tradition ministers wearing a stole like this, it symbolizes that we have been ordained. And what that means is after we've gone to school and then we've gotten our degree and we've been blessed by the committees to say, yes, in fact, we're fit to do this work, then the very last step is that a congregation has to ordain us, has to say, yes, we give you the title of ordained minister. Only our congregations in Unitarian Universalism have the power to do that. We're very different than some other churches. And so it wasn't this congregation, it was the congregation that I came from when I lived in California that ordained me. And it's that ordination that allows clergy to wear their long clergy stoles to symbolize that a congregation has affirmed them and ordained them as a minister. So it's interesting, right? And then I wear a lot of other symbols. Who can recognize this symbol that's around my neck? I wear it every Sunday. What is it, Greta?
Chalice.
The flaming chalice. Does it look a lot like that one up there that we just lit? Yes. What do you notice about this chalice and that chalice? It has what? How many rings? Do you know what 2 rings mean in our chalice? Ha! Yes! They symbolize Unitarian and Universalism, Unitarianism and Universalism. And look, in this chalice in particular, sometimes here, right, they intersect. the top and the bottom, to show that that is an intersection of those faith traditions coming together. And then what's also interesting about the chalice, it's true in my necklace too, but everyone can see this one here. Do you notice that the flame is not in the center? It's kind of to the side. Do you know why, Carissa? No?
I just noticed.
You noticed that? Yeah, good. So, do you want to know why? Can you guess why? Well, in Unitarian Universalism, we believe that there are many sources of wisdom and many spiritual and religious truths and many paths to the holy, that there isn't just one truth or one way of thinking or one belief system in God or no God or whatever it is. And so the people who designed this chalice thought, we're going to put this flame offset to the side to remind us that we don't center any particular belief or doctrine or dogma. And I share all of this with you today because I find these things really cool. I kind of geek out about them. And these are all symbols of what it means to be part of this community. Yes, sir?
It's floating.
It's floating. It is floating. It's kind of suspended in that design, isn't it? Yeah. The creative ways that people express our chalice, there's many different chalice designs out there. And what I always want you all to remember is that as part of this community, I am your minister too. And so if you have big questions about life, about the world, about hard things, or if you want to share something silly and fun with me even, you can do that. You can come and talk to me anytime that you see me, and you can even ask the grown-ups in your life to help make an appointment to talk to me if you want to ever come into my office. Someday we should just go into my office and you all should just take a look at it. So it's pretty cool. It's way more fun than a principal's office. So thank you for letting me be your minister, and thank you for being part of this community, and that's what it's all about today. But before we sing together, we are going to have a reading. We're doing things a little bit out of order today because the reading that we have to share today is a reading about what kind of community we work to create here. And you're included in that, so we wanted you to hear it today. So let's listen to our reading.
Encountering community and becoming the crew. Here, in this community, we encounter questioners, seekers of truth with a capital T, pilgrims longing for sanctuary, travelers needing harbor from the storm. Here, in this community, we encounter those who are holding on by a thread, determined breakers of chains of loneliness and isolation. You who push through their fear because something told you that you deserve to belong. Here, in this community, we encounter those beloveds who braid ropes again and again. You've been there for our siblings who are just hanging on. You gave them a hand into the community and told them that they could rest there. Here, in this community, we encounter families who seek spiritual and religious community for their children and grandchildren. You entrust your young people here, and we, as a community, commit to nurture and respect them. Here, in this community, we encounter children and youth. You give us the gift of your wisdom, your joy, your curiosity, and your trust that we will hold all of it safe. How do we make this tender place wider? How do we stretch into a bolder welcome and radical generosity of the heart? Can we imagine ourselves the stewards and ushers not only into this space, but into our circle of belonging? Can we commit and recommit to being accountable to one another as an anti-racist, anti-oppressive community that centers marginalized voices, that listen to those voices, especially when what they're saying is hard to hear? Can we be willing to change? When we break our agreements with one another, can we offer amends? Can we be humble and generous? there is grace enough here. There is, in this community, in our encountering, the possibility of healing, of repair, of making things right, within ourselves and with each other and with the wider world. There is, in this place, possibility. Let us embrace the encounter and become the crew, charting our course for the future with love at the center.
Amen. Thanks, Rob. All right, friends. As we get started in this program Year Together, as you go off to your religious exploration classes in full swing and explore all of the possibilities of what it means to be in a community and teamwork, our children ages 5 through 5th grade will go out of these doors, and our youth 6 through 12 out these doors here. And I want to invite you to stand. We're all going to sing our community blessing together, but as we do, I would like to invite those RE volunteers among us, particularly today, to also come and join us up here, because I want us to sing together as a blessing for the service of all of you who are serving our religious exploration program right now. So here we go. These are going to be some of the cool people that you get to be with today. Let's sing together. Oh, surprise Sue Langley, Carrie, we're gonna do it live. No video today. Here we go, just need a moment. You can study the words. Thanks, friends. Have a great day together. We're not singing them, we're just watching them out now. That was lovely, though. Thank you. In honor of our theme of community this morning, it is fitting that we are having a new member ceremony, that we are pleased to welcome those who have chosen to become members of our congregation. So I'd like to invite up with me here Jan Salisbury, our president of the board. We've got quite the trifecta today because Rob is our vice president. We're representing up here today. Whether you are born into Unitarian Universalism or you have come to it later in life, when you decide to become a member of a congregation, you do so out of your own choosing, which makes this an important and special decision.
Boise Unitarian Universalist Fellowship is a free religious congregation covenanting together to support each other in our search for truth, meaning, and spiritual growth. We do not subscribe to a creed or dogma, but are guided by principles that help to affirm and promote the fulfillment of our highest aspirations and our deepest beliefs as we strive for beloved community where no one is a stranger. As your names are called, we invite our new members to come forward to be recognized. We are so pleased to have 11 new members joining today. As I read your name, we invite you to come on up and join us on the chancel together. And plus, we have a welcoming bag for you. What could be better? A present. Okay. So, Marcine Austin, please. you would come forward. Andrew Burton. Nick Koford. Melissa Cortez. Pat Dye. Diane Elstein. Patty Hedges. Dennis Lazar. Carrie McNeil. Barbara Mortella. And Ben Taylor. Oh, Steve Elstein, sorry. It was there. You were there, Steve. I see. Neil, come on down. Is there a Neil in the house? Here we go. Membership marks an important moment in the life of a congregation and congregant. Each of you has chosen to become part of this community, this crew, sharing in the privileges and responsibilities that choice entails. As new members, we invite you to join in the traditions, the activities, and the work of the congregation. In joining this congregation today, your story is added to this living local tradition of over 100 years, which is part of the Unitarian Universalist faith, which came into being more than 500 years ago. Members of the Boise UU Fellowship, will you covenant together to welcome these new members before you, to be open and inclusive, respecting their inherent dignity, their ideas and vision, when it is easy and in times when it is difficult? If so, please say, we will.
We will. And to our new members, all of you, in return, we ask that you recognize our humanity, like when we mess up and forget to include your name in the new member ceremony, Neil. We will not always live up to our ideals. It's real, in real time. And when we fall short, we invite you to stay in relationship with us and help us more fully bring alive the spirit of love. We welcome you as equal members of this congregation, this faith, and our shared spiritual journey. If you accept this role of membership to this Boise Unitarian Universalist Fellowship and covenant to affirm and promote the principles of our UU tradition, to contribute your time, talent, and resources toward making ours a creative, loving, compassionate, and joyous community, please say, we will. We will. I invite all of us to rise together and recite together the membership affirmation. Words on our screens, and new members, you have it printed on the welcome home card in your bags there for you. In the back, yeah, you got it. As members of this fellowship, our commitment to our UU values shapes our true purpose in being together. We will continue to minister to one another, bringing our whole selves to this endeavor. We renew our covenant to seek and speak the truth in love, nurture spiritual growth, and practice justice within, among, and beyond these walls. Amen. Congratulations, new members. We are blessed to have you among us. Thank you and welcome. Yes, of course. It's really delightful and remarkable to see and feel the energy of newcomers and new members that has occurred in this year, this 2023 year. It's really been beautiful to watch and to meet all of you and to get to know you and to welcome your contributions to our community. When we give our time, our talent, our resources, we are giving out of that sense of abundance in our lives. We are saying yes to building a beloved community within and beyond our walls. We are committing ourselves to do the work of justice and compassion for all people and our earth. And today we share those gifts with our plate partner, the Bare Roots Collective, as an expression of that commitment, practicing the practice of encountering others, building bridges between our community and the larger whole, and living our faith out loud in the world. You can give using our QR code up here, and the ushers have the offering baskets ready. Our offering will now be received. Thank you. Thank you, Sue. As part of our gathering together each week, we open up a space to acknowledge the very realness of being on this journey of life together, in all of its ups and downs and trials and tribulations, joys and sorrows. A reminder that you can submit your joys and sorrows online, and we'll read them out each Sunday. And of course, our Zoom community, you are invited to share them in the chat. We combine our collective joys and sorrows together to receive and carry the blessing of this community, to know that we are held and we are not alone in this world. We have just one joy to share officially today. You saw them live and in person last week, but we have not yet made the official joyful congratulations to Jonathan and Kendra Dover, who are brand new parents to baby Samantha. Congratulations to both of you. There you are. And theirs was the wee little baby that was up front at our water communion blessing last week. If you are holding someone in your heart this morning, I invite you to speak their name aloud into this community of care that we might hold them with you. May the arms of this community hold all our joys and sorrows, those named aloud and those that remain silent and close to our hearts. May we feel the grace that surrounds us and be transformed by the spirit of life and love, with a warmth to celebrate the joys and a gentleness to soothe our aching hearts. Breathe with me. Fill your body with breath. Breathe into this sacred space, into your sacred space, wherever you find yourself. Breathe with this beloved community, filled with loving kindness. Listen to what is calling you in the silence. Thank you, choir. Wow, so nice to have your voices back in this space. I'm going to shift gears from beautiful Robert Frost here, so it's going to feel a little bumpy. Do we have any Star Trek fans out there? Any self-professed Trekkies? There's the fans, Trekkies. Oh, there you are. I can't even do it. Okay, I will admit that I am not one exactly, but my youngest sister and her husband are. So I've watched my fair share of Star Trek episodes growing up. I was even invited to craft their wedding ceremony with Star Trek nods and references, beginning with the star date, all of which took a tremendous amount of research and verification on my part. But Star Trek has become iconic in our culture. And since its inception, it's had a profound influence on not just the entertainment world, but the lives of millions. Its own expansive fandom being the obvious point of its legacy. Star Trek is known for that legacy of championing racial diversity and inclusion, human rights, and the worth and dignity of all beings. Amen is right. Gene Roddenberry, the prophet, originator, and creator of Star Trek, was a self-professed humanist, which we Unitarian Universalists like to claim as UU adjacent. In fact, so many of us really like to claim Gene Roddenberry as one of our own, but I could not verify that, so I won't do it here. But you can understand why, and the show and its spin-offs have always anchored themselves in that deep humanist philosophy, while also proclaiming a kind of simple, beautiful, spiritual vision for the universe. A vision for how humanity might be able, or all beings, because there's more than human beings in Star Trek, might be able to rise above our fractured individualism and global violence, where we pursue our highest ideals of collective freedom and flourishing, including the protection of those who are vulnerable and the power of societal connection and diplomacy. Not a bad vision, and pretty darn close to how we often articulate Unitarian Universalism. One of the hallmarks of any Star Trek series is the value it places on the crew. The crew itself in Star Trek often feels like its own character. The ethos of every Starfleet crew is one of service. Service to the ship and the other members of the crew, the community, but also service to the greater vision and mission of the whole Federation. We hear it in those iconic and memorable words of Dr. Spock and Captain Kirk in The Wrath of Khan.
The needs of the many outweigh
the needs of the few.
Or the one.
Yeah, it's an emotional scene right there. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few and the one. We often forget that part. The depth of the commitment any Starfleet crew have for each other, their mission, the greater whole, their guiding ethics, these principles appear in every series. Most recently, in a newer series, Picard, we watched the crew of the USS Enterprise D step onto the bridge of their reconstructed ship for the first time in 30 years. And they and their ship are needed to help free all of Starfleet from control of the Borg. You don't really need to know who they are. I don't. It's the Borg. However, what I do know is that they and their ship, this almost decommissioned ship, are the only ones who can save everyone who happens to be gathered on Earth at that moment. And Picard has not commanded a ship in a while. 30-some years, perhaps. And he shares his reluctance to call on his crew to face down this enemy yet again. But the crew responds as any Starfleet crew would, as any crew committed to each other, their community, and their mission would. They say, "We are the crew. We are the crew of the USS Enterprise, but more than that, we are your family. Wherever you go, we go." And off they go to save the Earth. I share this illustration with you, surprised that the spirits of sermon writing took me down this Star Trek path, with which I am very much a novice. So a shout out to my Trekkie friends who helped me along the way. I share this because it evoked something in me about the nature of commitment and community and the practice of encountering others. Especially on this new member Sunday, when our newest members pledge themselves to this community, and the rest of us renew our own commitment. It's why we do the ceremony and the affirmation with the same words every time. And we collectively remind ourselves of our connection to our larger Unitarian Universalist community and faith tradition. We become part of the crew, part of the UU Starfleet, if you will. Gene Roddenberry loved philosophy, and you can see the evidence of that in his deep humanist convictions that show up in every episode. His representations of crew culture came out of that philosophical devotion to humanist study and identity. Because the concept of crew, it turns out, permeates a number of different philosophical thinkers and theologians. Canadian philosopher Marshall McLuhan, only a decade older than Roddenberry, wrote this much-quoted phrase: "There are no passengers on this spaceship Earth. We are all crew." His statement was a commentary on the interconnectedness and the impact of our human behavior on our planet, suggesting we all have a role to play and in our commitment to living on this planet, to each other, to our global community, and to keep it thriving. Another philosopher in Britain at the turn of the 20th century, Alfred North Whitehead, famous for his writing on process relational philosophy, which grew into process theology, which many Unitarians and Universalists adopt as a theology worthy of following in our own tradition. He penned the words, "No member of a crew is praised for the rugged individuality of their rowing." Yes. It wouldn't get anywhere, right? That crew would turn in circles if there were some rugged individualists rowing there. So it seems philosophers have been deeply curious about the nature of what it means to be an integral part of a community, part of a crew. And we Unitarian Universalists, with our historic commitment to being a non-creedal faith, right? We don't center any truth or wisdom. We have always explored similar questions in our own communities, centered around our covenants to one another and to the world, the promises that we make. Kurt Hahn, who was the founder of Outward Bound, built his program around this statement which highlights the essence of what a covenantal community can look like. We are not crew, not passengers. We are crew. Got that wrong. We are crew, not passengers, strengthened by acts of consequential service. Strengthened by acts of consequential service. All of these ideas, the entire foundation of crew culture, speak to me of what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist, generally, and a member of a congregation specifically. In fact, this fellowship was born from a we are the crew mentality. Its beautiful beginnings began in the living rooms and basements of other liberal-minded Boiseans in the 40s, looking for a community in what felt like, even then, a tightly woven conservative state. And in its early years, with no full-time professional paid ministry or staff, no permanent building, this fellowship flourished because of its dedicated crew. A crew committed to each other and to their larger mission to be a haven for liberal religion, for social progressives and spiritual seekers. And back then, everyone pitched in to do everything, from hosting Sunday morning meetings, to leading kids' activities, to finding the topics for the services and sometimes delivering a talk, to collecting and offering, a much contentious thing in the early days, to eventually finding a more permanent place to plant their roots and grow. That early crew culture grew this fellowship into what we are today. And even though we are much, much larger today, with a beautiful building, a beautiful property and gorgeous grounds, with professional ministry and multiple paid staff, that crew culture still exists. It is the beating heart of what sustains us, what keeps us together and keeps us moving through these rapidly changing and often challenging times. And sometimes it can be easy to get pulled in to the larger culture's near constant focus on consumption and consumerism. I know it is for me. We show up in spaces with particular expectations about what we want or how we think things should be done. Some of us just show up exhausted and overworked and just looking for a break and looking to be fed. We're human. That is normal. Many spaces in this world allow us to slip into the myth that we can just ride the waves, lounge on deck chairs, while some invisible crew drives the ship and tends to our every need. And while those luxurious spaces are nice, and rest is needed at times, a covenantal community does not thrive under those conditions. When we are at our best, when this fellowship embraces our commitment to community, to remembering Dr. Spock's wisdom about the needs of the many, the whole energy of this place and who we are to each other and the world shifts in beautiful and magical ways. It really becomes electric. Much of what we experience here together on a weekly basis is the result of this crew culture. For things like the beautiful chancel design, the quilts, the fabrics, the flowers, the chairs, just right. One crew could probably use a few more crew members. The choir, they're their own mini crew right here. Hospitality and coffee and treats and supporting religious exploration, cooking for the meal trains, showing up at rallies, justice initiatives and events, our AV tech crew, even the simple act of setting up our tables and tents last Sunday and then helping put it all away. We are the crew that keep this place flourishing. As Barbara Brown Taylor writes in her book, An Altar in the World, the inspiration for our monthly themes, no work is too small to play a part in the work of creation. No work is too small. At the Cirque du Soleil, the person who replaces the light bulbs is vitally important to the high wire artist who must see where to put her foot. To make this place, this community, that's our high wire artists right there. To make this community function at its best, and not just function, but come alive with that electric energy and vision strengthened by acts of consequential service, then none of us are truly passengers. We all have a role to play. And those roles shift and change over time depending on our lives and the needs of our community and our current voyage. Now, in this Star Trek analogy that I'm using here, I want to clarify a thing. I am not the captain. Not always. There may be times and spaces when I inhabit the role of captain, but there are also many times and spaces when many of you inhabit the role of captain, when you are charting a course and leading us, when you are doing the visioning and the planning and the setting up. For example, in 2018, when our choir went on tour to Transylvania, I was not at all the captain of that ship, and let me tell you, it was glorious to just be one of the crew and to follow the command of Carrie, Bastian, and Gwyn Reed, who really put that entire program together. Truly, it was a gift. And that's what's so beautiful about being a part of this crew. Sometimes we lead, sometimes we follow, sometimes we rest and are held and cared for, and sometimes we do the holding. And in this crew culture, we are more than just mere functionaries doing tasks that need to be done. It's more than that. Because in the doing, in the tasks, in the culture we're creating as a crew and community together, we make meaning together. We help this ship and each other make sense of the world and find some spiritual sustenance in this wild, uncertain expanse through which we voyage. And I know that sometimes it can be hard to find your way in a ship as large as ours. And when you join our crew, you might wonder where to start. But let me assure you, you can start anywhere that calls to you. That's a beautiful thing about our Connections Fair last Sunday. Our teams and committees and small groups and all of the spaces are ready to welcome you at any time with open arms. If we want to keep building beloved community, keep working toward greater justice and belonging, keep deepening our own spiritual lives, keep broadening our hearts and minds, keep welcoming those on the margins and tending to the most vulnerable among us, then we must declare we are the crew and find our spaces for acts of service to the whole. So as we launch this new program year in the life of this fellowship and church community, there are many places that, as you know, where more crew members are needed. We can't run this ship or stay on mission without you. And just like Starfleet and its commitment to the Federation of Planets, we also have a vision of what is possible in this world, a vision of love and connection, a vision of justice and peace and collective flourishing within and beyond our walls. And by being part of this community, by showing up each week to reflect and connect, to make meaning together, to tap into that creative force which calls us to love each other, nurture our spirits, and help heal the world, we proudly declare, we are the crew. Would you say it with me? We are the crew. One more time. We are the crew. Yes, all of us need all of us to make it. May it be so. Amen. You all deserve as much of those applause, truly. I invite us all to come into ourselves and into the energy of this community as we take a moment of prayer and meditation together. Spirit of life and love, holy mystery, we are the beating heart of this community, the crew that dedicates itself to love, that promises itself to each other and the world, as we search for our own truth and meaning, pursue justice, equity, and compassion, and bring beauty wherever we go. Let us live into this space and this commitment with courage and joy, with vision and creativity. Let us gather the Spirit and the power within and among us to keep this fellowship thriving and serving a greater good for generations to come. Let us make room and declare welcome to all who seek refuge and respite among us, holding and being held, serving and being served, loving and being loved, now and always. In the name of all that is holy, we pray. Amen.
The translation that you see there, he who stands lives, he who sits perishes, is a literal translation. This song will be mostly sung in Maori, the indigenous language of the people of what is now known as New Zealand. The more probably accurate way of looking at what the message is don't stand on the sidelines, sit on the sidelines. Get up, get involved. It'll be good for you and your community.
With that kind of energy. Thank you, choir. Friends, I invite you to rise and body your spirit. Place your hands over your heart for our closing blessing. You know, the thing about Star Trek is that the mission never ends. There is a new challenge, a new battle, a new obstacle to overcome, a new planet or people that need help every day, every episode. It's a lot like living in our world today. So let us live fully and joyfully. In community together, let us celebrate our victories and laugh at our fumbles and know that every act of service is consequential. As we chart the course of our lives and faith and love well into the future, while proclaiming we are the crew. Live long and prosper, friends. Blessed are we all. Go in peace.